Obviously, there is the LIV backdrop at the moment. Rory McIlroy saying that he found it hard to stomach playing alongside LIV golfers this week. Do you share similar concerns? Do you feel the same way?
Somewhat. I do think there is a bit of a double standard between the relationship with LIV and PGA Tour and LIV and European Tour. I think the PGA Tour will and can obviously survive without some big players going. But the European Tour, there's some key players that have been key for European Tour golf and the Ryder Cup that have a lot of collective years on the European Tour that them coming, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. What I don't understand is some players that have never shown any interest on the European Tour, have never shown any interest in playing this event, being given an opportunity just because they can get world ranking points and hopefully make majors next year. When a perfect example, this a good friend of mine is the first one out on the entry list right now. Alfredo, a good friend of mine from Spain, that because you have players that now need world ranking points are given an opportunity. That I don't really agree with. It really, to an extent, I don't know what the word is. It doesn't hurt me, but it does bug me that somebody who's played over, I think I looked it up, it's 20 DP World events this year cannot be given the opportunity to play a flagship event because some people that earned it to an extent are being given an opportunity when they couldn't care any less about the event. Like, they don't know. They don't care. They don't know the history of this event. They're only here because they can get world ranking points and they're trying to finish in the top 50. And that's clear as day. So to me, there is a difference.
Okay, and just to Martin at the front. Sorry, can we go Martin first?
Sorry, I just didn't quite catch the name you said there, John. The player who
Alfredo Garcia Heredia.
Alfredo, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, Phil.
Just a follow-up on that, John. I mean, obviously for the likes of Alfredo and the other 17 players, Challenge Tour graduates.
Yeah, I only said that because he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, but I mean, this could be a career-changing week for them.
Yes.
Yeah, and that makes it more annoying.
Yeah, and like I said, the likes of Sergio and Westy and Poulter, they've spent 20 plus years on the European Tour. I don't necessarily think that denying them the entry to some events is a bad thing. But there is some players, I'm not going to name anybody, but there is some of them that have never shown any interest. And like I said, they're here for a different motive than supporting European Tour, or DP World, sorry, I keep having. And so yeah, I don't necessarily think it's 17, because those players have been coming here for many years and they usually come, but it's still a larger number than it should be. That maybe, I know according to the laws they earned it in some way, but I have a hard time on that. I know that if they were playing PGA Tour, they wouldn't be here for a fact. So it's just, to me, it's hard to understand.
You're very passionate about the game. I mean, how would you sum up what's happened in the game this year in terms of where the game currently is?
Yeah, it's definitely an odd scenario because there's more animosity going on in the world of golf that we've ever had, but it could be a change for the better, right? We can see the PGA Tour making changes to increase purses and increase opportunities for all players, and I'm sure they're also going to do that here, right? So to an extent, I can see it as a positive for change, a change that was maybe needed because things haven't changed in a very long time in the world of golf, and something needs to be done. So as bad as things are right now, I think in given enough time, we might look at it as a positive thing. I'm hoping, at least. I'm hoping. I'm hoping good comes with it.
Just John behind.
John, when you see these players, do they initiate a conversation with you about your views? Do you feel you have any duty to talk to them about it? I mean, it must be uncomfortable.
No, not really. Not.
But you're with people who you've just spoken out against.
Well, no. So I've seen them and I don't speak to them. I don't say. The only people asking about my opinion are mainly players that have been part of the Ryder Cup with me, or people that are closer and we're friends. But I've made my stance on things very clear. I don't know what else to say, right? I'm not gonna hate anybody. I'm not gonna to an extent, maybe right now I did, but judge too many people for the decisions they make. They're adults and make their own decisions. That's all I
How
can
would you
say.
feel if you had to play with them?
Well, we'll have to. I mean, eventually, somebody, there's 17 of them, one of them might play good, and hopefully I play good enough to be there on the weekend. So I'm here to play golf. So if I play with them, so be it. It's not going to change my mindset whatsoever. It's just now, before the tournament, when I'm realizing certain things where, you know, I think I can reserve some judgment, but once we start on Thursday, there's nothing I can do about it. Even right now, there's nothing I can do about it. But
John, you've been very consistent about your own position
Mhm.
regarding LIV. Are you surprised at the calibre of players who've eventually gone? Because we all thought maybe it was going to be players whose best years were behind them. And do you think that that's going to force people to take a different perspective?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I was always in the position of understanding that some big players were going to leave. That it is understanding. I mean, it's guaranteed a lot of money, right? It's a different format, less golf, less stress, right? As glamorous as it can be, the life of a professional golfer can be very stressful. Play a lot of golf, and you not always get the feedback you want, right? So it can be tough to travel worldwide and miss a cut and get nothing, and that part can be tough. So I'm not surprised that some big players have gone. And that's why I said I think that's why changes are being made, especially on the PGA Tour side, to make sure that doesn't happen again. So, yeah, I think early on, a lot of the people that had an easier decision were people whose career was towards the end, right, the later years. But I think it would have been foolish to think that no young player was ever going to go, because obviously it's an opportunity, and I think a lot of them are going to think it's a good one, especially the ones that were amateurs that signed crazy big contracts and have the opportunity to play with some of the best players in the world.
But it's never caused you to have second thoughts about your decision?
No, never.
You know, it's obviously I've said a lot of comments about this, and I addressed this, you know, something similar to this at the Scottish Open. It's a difficult situation for me, because as much as I'm outspoken on the PGA Tour about those guys that left, the PGA Tour and DP World Tour, even with our strategic alliance, the PGA Tour's foundation and its foothold is so much stronger than where the DP World Tour is. And I know the PGA Tour is trying to help out in that aspect, to make the DP World Tour strong and make it, you know, what it used to be maybe in the 80s and 90s, where it was really a true competitor of the PGA Tour. I am a member of the DP World Tour, but it's nothing like the PGA Tour, because I've played only a handful of events. I have played some that aren't the Rolex Series events. So I've asked a few of the guys here this week, knowing that I was going to be asked this question in media. And there's a mixed feeling out here. There's some guys that hate it, don't think the LIV guys should be here. There's some guys that are sort of in the middle, and there's some guys that understand, they feel that, hey, these guys have helped build the DP World Tour and the European Tour, and been part of Ryder Cups and helped, you know, the European Tour be so successful in the Ryder Cup, and they're okay with it. My stance on this, and I think my stance on this is that when those guys were trying to figure out whether they were going to go to the LIV Tour or stay with PGA Tour or DP World Tour, they had to factor in that they knew that world ranking points weren't going to maybe not come right away or not come at all. Had to factor in that they knew that they were going to be suspended from the PGA Tour and possibly DP World Tour, that they may not be in majors. So by factoring that in, they factored in what the financial reward for them needed to be for them to leave these tours to go join that tour. If they didn't, or they were told something different from the LIV people, which is very clear that LIV told those guys, you will not be suspended from either one of those tours. You will still have access. We've looked at it. We're going to win our lawsuits. it's sort of naive. It's naive for those guys to think that that's how it's going to truly happen. Maybe those guys aren't smart enough to think on their own, and maybe their agents gave them bad information, which I am very for a fact that certain agents gave certain players bad information, and some of those players are ticked that they listen to the agents on that. But I feel that they signed a contract with LIV, and they factored in understanding that they may not get any of those awards that they had on the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, and they put a price number on that. And they said, well, if that's not going to happen, then this is what I need to be able to go play LIV. And that's a contract that they signed with LIV. So it's tough because I talked with Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood yesterday, Bernd Wiesberger. I've talked to these guys. These guys are guys I get along with very well. And as I've always said, I don't fault them for making that decision. But you made a decision that is going to weaken both tours. And that's a tough way to go about it, because honestly, those guys aren't going to play enough going forward to really help out the PGA Tour, but especially the DP World Tour that needs these guys to play more often. And so it's a very tough decision. But as I said, I think those guys, and even though Lee Westwood and Ian Poulter have been stalwarts for the European Tour, I honestly don't think those guys really should be here. I honestly don't think that the American guys that haven't supported the PGA Tour should be here. The Abraham Answer, the Taylor Gooch, the Jason Kokrak's. You've never played this tournament. You've never supported the DP World Tour. Why are you here? You're here for one reason only, and that is to try and get world ranking points because you don't have it. And it's hypocritical of what some of these guys have said to be here this week when they said they wanted to play less golf. So it's pretty hypocritical to come over here and play outside LIV when your big thing was to spend more time with family and want to play less golf. So that's my stance on it. I can see where other guys may differ and have a different opinion, but like I said, it's tough. If we were on the PGA Tour, I would be hard-lined, as I've always been. But DP World Tour, it's tougher because they're not in the strongest standpoint in the sense of financial, and they need to build their tour back up so all these players out here can reap the financial rewards. And I think that's why the strategic alliance with the PGA Tour hopefully is going to be able to do that.